Welcome everybody who's on time. We're going to give it a couple minutes to allow transition between meetings. Well, it's 2:02, so let's get started. Hi everybody, thanks for joining us for another fantastic Top of Mind Tuesday. We are fortunate to have OnActuate here to help us go through a conversation about, where AI can actually deliver value. So my name is Cassie Jordan. I am the AI business process specialist at Microsoft. I support all the state agencies in Texas and large locals as well. And also that title in Microsoft speak, what that really means is I support Copilot Studio, Dynamics 365, and Power Platform. And I am joined by my buddy Naeem, who will go ahead and present himself, and then we'll kind of trade off later in the presentation. As always, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Or you can just speak it out loud. I don't like listening to myself talk. So welcome. Naeem?
Thank you very much, Cassie. Welcome everyone. My name is Naeem Shafi. I'm from OnActuate, VP Service Delivery. OnActuate is Microsoft AI Cloud partner. So let me get started with today's agenda. It's very interesting because what we'll cover today is about AI. As you all know, AI is pretty much dominating the conversation right now. Many agencies, many organizations today are struggling to separate the real opportunities from, the marketing hype. So today's session is going to be designed more on the practical side rather than the technical side. So we will focus on where the public sector organizations are today, what is actually delivering value to you, and how to identify the right next steps. And the goal is not to convince anyone to adopt, AI immediately, but to help determine whether it makes sense for you and where it doesn't make sense, right? That's the important part. So if you look at the slide deck, you will see, the very first one is the AI fact versus the fiction. That's where we start by addressing some common misconceptions and, they're setting the realistic expectations in terms of what to do. The next one is the modernization landscape. We will look at the maturity journey most public sector agencies are following, where AI fits within that progression. Third one you will see is the right sizing to your solution. Not every challenge requires an AI. Sometimes automation, process improvement, or existing platform capabilities are just better answer, right? The next one is the outcome, the real results. That's where we will review some examples of the measurable outcomes and the lessons learned from different organizations that we have already started them on this journey. Next one, Microsoft, AI platform, what is available there. Casey will, talk about, what is available from Microsoft ecosystem. And then, we will close with the practical actions that public sector agencies can take regardless of, where you are on the maturity curve today. That's important. So moving on to the next slide is, AI fact versus fiction. So before, what the research actually says. So before I get into that, I will ask every one of you out there two questions. The first one is, what is your primary business objective with AI today? Is it reduce operational cost, improve citizens services, increase staff capacity, better data reporting, or not yet? And you can, drop your answers in the chat. That would be great. And question two is, which AI tool are your employees using today? Microsoft Copilot, 365, ChatGPT, or similar tools? Any internal AI tools you're using? Shadow AI, no visibility, or none yet? And again, you can drop your answers in the chat. It'll be good to know, in terms of where you are with your AI journey. Moving on to interesting AI reality check for the government public sector, where it stands today. So 79% of the government executives say that, AI is priority for them, 79%. 38% already have a formal strategy in place. 60% cite data quality as a number one barrier to their AI adoption. It's very important to have a good data. And 3 times the ROI is seen when AI is paired with redesigning your processes. So these are some interesting numbers that I wanted to touch on, some insights. And then moving on to, some of the challenges that, you all face in your day-to-day operations and day-to-day, jobs that everybody's into. And, obviously you can see does these sound familiar? Obviously, these are not isolated problems. They are actually the symptoms of the same challenge, doing more with less without a clear path forward. So when you look at, before we talk about any AI solutions, it's very, very important for all of you to recognize the realities of the agencies are dealing with today. Most agencies are struggling because they lack AI. Actually, they are struggling because they are balancing competing priorities within limited resources that everyone has, right? Because you have a day job and you have to implement all these new tools and fancy tools which can give you the results. So if you look at the challenges that are shaping in your day-to-day lives, the first one is obviously starts from the executive leadership. Leadership teams are hearing, AI discussed everywhere, from vendors to board meetings to, elected officials. Everybody's talking about them. And the challenge isn't whether AI is important. It's actually determining where can it create measurable value? Where can it create measurable outcome for you, right? At the same time, modernization, budgets remain constraints, forcing difficult prioritization decisions, right? Many leaders out there are looking for practical outcomes, obviously, not just another technology experiment, right, which would fail. And then comes the business and the program operations, right? That's where the operational teams are often carrying out the heaviest burden on day-to-day operations. Many critical processes still rely on manual handoffs. You're using Excel sheets, spreadsheets, paper-based approvals, right? Staffing shortages continue to increase the pressure, while the service expectations are still remain very high, right? And the question becomes, how do we help teams do more with resources that they already have, right? Who are already doing their day job, right? And then the third part comes the IT data and cybersecurity part, right? That's where the technology teams are being asked to support this innovation while maintaining the security and the compliance. Many public sector agencies have valuable data, obviously, right? It's often spread across different systems, multiple systems, and very difficult to have access to them, consistently. So security and governance um, is a concern and are increasing as employees begin experimenting on their own with these AI tools, right? So this is why the governance and the data readiness often needs to happen alongside the AI adoption. It's very, very important. And what is interesting here on these challenges that they're all interconnected. So they are not in isolation. They're all interconnected. Leadership wants measurable outcomes. Operations needs efficiency, and the IT needs security and governance, right? So the organizations seeing that the most success are addressing all these three together rather than treating it in isolation. That's the most important takeaway I want you to take from this, is that all that are interconnected. The executive leadership, the business and the program operations, and the IT. They all work hand in hand. Moving on to what does the modernization landscape look like? What I mean by that is where the government organizations really are and what that means for your AI journey. Um, and what I mean by that is that, most agencies out there are not starting from ground zero. They actually are somewhere in the middle on this slide deck. So let me go through that with you step by step. So if you look at on the very left-hand side, you will see, you know, the paper-based model. That's the heavy reliance on manual processes, disconnected information, and that's where, typically the AI typically provides very limited value, right? And one thing I wanted to mention before I go to the next one is that one of the biggest misconceptions that organizations and need to be, completely understand that, before you explore AI is that you are not starting from zero. You're already digitized to somewhat, right? And that's where my next point comes, which is the digitized, where what I mean by that is the systems are already in place. You've been using it for years. But the biggest challenge you have there is that the information is siloed, right? So many organizations spend years in this stage where the information is siloed. You're using various systems, not talking to each other, right? And then comes the automated on the screen. That's where the process begins connecting across different systems. And this is often where organizations start seeing meaningful efficiency gains, right? And then comes the data driven, uh, which is where you start using your analytics, reporting is in place, and then that trusted data is helping you make decisions, right? And that's where the AI initiatives become very more effective, I would say, because the underlying data foundation is in place now and it exists, right? And then finally comes the AI enhanced state, where the AI helps augment employees with insights, with recommendations, with intelligent, automation. This is typically an evolution, right? That's and it's not a sudden transformation. So you can see how you're already digitized and how you move to the AI enhanced version of yourself, right? So the most important three takeaways that I want to, emphasize on is that, the first one is the data quality comes first. AI is only as good as your information that it can access, right? Poor data quality often creates bigger problems than it can solve. So, focus on getting good data. The next one is the automation uh, unlocks quick wins, right? So before investing heavily in AI, organization often achieve significant balance, benefits by looking at workflows, introducing automation, doing some configuration on the existing systems. That gives you quick wins as well. And then finally is the AI amplifiers. And what I mean by that is the most successful implementation support employees rather than replace them, right? That's the most important thing. And AI help staff on higher value work while routine tasks can become more efficient. So the most important takeaway here, is that the AI shouldn't be viewed in your eyes as a starting point. It's often the next step in your journey, like a broader modernization journey that you're moving towards, right? That's the way you got to look at it. And you're not at ground zero, you're somewhere in the middle because you're already using systems there. So moving on to the next one is, what is the right sizing to your solution, right? uh, Obviously not every problem is going to need an AI, right? And how do you find that right fit? And there's a methodology behind it. There's a framework behind it. How do you get yourself ready for that, right? So how we do it is basically we focus on understanding your challenges first. The solution comes second, and then we look at the pain points. And as you can see on the slide deck here, at OnActuate, we go through an AI readiness framework. That's where we look at a discovery workshop where we meet with your teams, we document your pain points, and you can bring any topic. There's nothing off limit there, right? Whether you're doing any task in the system or out of the system or anywhere manually today. Then we prioritize and categorize each challenge by impact and urgency, whether they are high, medium, or low. And then we get the alignment with the leadership team to see which ones needs to get prioritized for delivery. And then we get into matching those pain points and provide solution, whether they fit into a certain category. And I'll show you what those categories are. And then finally, we deliver our solution to you in terms of what the priorities have been agreed upon. So then once, obviously, we coach you, we guide you on that framework, which I talked about earlier. This particular slide shows you that framework, how we categorize those pain points. So imagine we have categorized, 10 pain points. That's where, we have to now fit them into the right categories, right? So the first one you can see here is out of the box, use existing configuration. That's where we leverage existing platform capabilities that you may not be using today. We can turn them on, we can configure them standard of the box, and you can get a quick win. Next one is the automation. That's where we streamline workflows to reduce manual work effort and deliver consistent outcome results. Third one is the custom development. That's the purpose-built solution within the application when standard option is falls short, obviously. The fourth one is the AI agent. That's where the intelligent automation kicks in for complex, repetitive tasks or knowledge-intensive tasks, right? That's where the AI gets introduced. And the fifth one is do nothing. Sometimes the business case doesn't support the investment, and then in that case, basically do nothing, and that's important too, right? Moving on to something very interesting. Obviously, an AI agent. What is an AI agent? In simple terms, AI agent is your digital teammate that can understand your goals, inform decisions, carry out task on its own, and it can actually transform manual, mundane, repetitive tasks or complex processes into automated, intelligent workflows that can save you time, reduce errors, and improve your business outcomes. It listens to you. You can actually give instructions in plain language. It analyzes information that is provided to it and also identifies what needs to get done. And it also complete tasks or offer, smart recommendations for you. And it continues to learn and improves over time. That's the best part of it, right? There's a machine learning piece there, right? Moving on to real results, right? How we went about what it looks like when AI meets the real problem. So that's where I mentioned earlier that we worked with one of our clients where they had issues in different departments. We looked at the procurement department. 18 issues were identified. Out of them, six of them were prioritized as top priority, high, that needed to be resolved as quick wins. And that's where we went through the discovery workshop. We reviewed the work in the workshop. We reviewed their pain points. We prioritized them. We aligned with the leadership in terms of how they're going to get delivered, and then we finally delivered it. And some of the examples of those procurement high points I will touch on is, there were issues on the PO confirmations, for example. They were managing that on manual basis, one by one, and that was taking a lot of their time in their daily jobs here. Second one was the vendor responses reviewed manually. Again, that was done very manually. Vendor schedule changes were all done manually in the systems, and they had to reprocess a lot of orders. Low value, low risk items planning was done again manually. We corrected that. Inventory parameters maintained manually in Excel. Outside D365, that was a lot of manual work for them. And then split purchase orders and logistics flows causing inaccurate performance tracking as well. So these are some examples of high priority pain points that were resolved through that workshop with the framework that I mentioned earlier. So moving on to another case study, very interesting. In one of our recent projects, one of our public sector customers, we implemented the D365 finance on purchase order agent. And this introduced AI-driven invoice capture capability to help eliminate and streamline basically the accounts payable processing, where by automating the invoice intake and the data extraction, the organization was able to reduce manual data entry, improve invoice accuracy, accelerate the approval cycles, and gain clear visibility into the invoices, statuses, and life cycle. And this is a very strong example of how newer capabilities can significantly reduce operational overhead and bring transparency and consistency in your daily operations. Moving on to, this is a very interesting example. Children International Foundation, they had issues where the challenge was they were spending time was a lot spent on low value tasks, preventing their employees from spending meaningful time directly with the people they serve, including children and vulnerable populations, right? And by introducing AI into those solutions, they were able to, spend more time directly with the children. That increased, and the development time reduced. Time dropped from 3 months to 2 days, and on track, to increase direct child intervention by 25% in 4 years with no budget increase. So they were able to spend more time with the vulnerable populations, which was a great success story. And that's where the outcome is that's something you got to focus on, and where you want to achieve to be a frontier agency. That's important. Moving on to how do you make the business case now? Obviously, you're thinking, do I wait or do I invest, right? Here are some of the key insights we want to touch on is when do you invest and when do you wait? So, you invest when, you're doing a lot of repetitive tasks, there's a high volume transactions happening, errors, carry compliance or financial risk you have to go through, knowledge is a concern, staff turnover is high, platform capabilities exist, but they are not enabled, right? Process volume clearly, justifies ROI. That's where you invest. And where do you wait when obviously the effort is very minimal, very infrequent, right? Business case doesn't support the cost, right? The platform or the system that you're using update may address it soon with the updates. And pre-built solutions are not on the roadmap. Process isn't yet stable enough for AI, right? So that's where you wait, right? And you don't invest at that point. Now, in order to, obviously move with becoming the frontier, agency in terms of embracing AI, there's a science behind it. How do you actually go on that journey? How do you get about that, right? So, so the way you go onto the AI journey is there's a framework you follow. And what we call the framework is the Frontier Success Framework. It has 4 pillars, as you can see on the slide deck, and it's built on 4 pillars. The first one is the enrich the employee experience. And what I mean by that is empower the people to do their best work by automating their routine task, unlocking creativity, supporting continuous learning. That's what enriching employee experiences. Next one is reinventing the customer engagement. Use AI to deliver more personalized, responsive, and very meaningful interactions on every touch point. The third one is reshape your business processes, which I mentioned to you earlier as well, right? Looking at the pain points, looking at your existing processes. That's where you move beyond your incremental improvements. You reimagine your workflows, your operations with AI at the core, right? And that's where it's going to drive efficiency and agility for you. The last one is bend the curve on innovation. And what I mean by that is that you accelerate the pace that you're moving on innovation by giving every team member the tool and the intelligence to experiment on their own and iterate and bring new ideas to make things faster. And one thing I want to want you to take from this framework is that this framework is not a theory. It's actually is grounded in what we see as frontier firm agencies are achieving today by following it. It's the real differentiator in how organizations put these 4 pillars in action using AI, not just as a tool, but I would say as a catalyst for holistic enterprise-wide transformations. And that's where you want to go. You want to follow it, right? Now I will move on to the next slide and I'll pass it on to my colleague Cassie to take you over on the journey of Microsoft Platform for Government. Over to you, Cassie.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments, opinions for anything that's already been covered? No? Okay. You guys are always so talkative. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through kind of the platform, the various AI tools that fit into what he just talked about, right? So there's tools that are very specific to the individual productivity. There are tools that are focused on your business processes and automating those. And there are tools that really get to getting into really innovative, advanced type solutions. So let me start with M365 Copilot. This is your workforce productivity tool. It lives in the apps that you use every day. So you have a Copilot in your Word, in your Excel, in your Outlook, and in Teams. And the ways in which these tools are used is phenomenal. I get to use them every day. One of the benefits of working for Microsoft. And instead of me writing an email from scratch, I don't have to. I have blank screen anxiety. So when I'm trying to create a Word doc or write an email, I have Copilot start with me or start for me. Go back to the other slide. So, and also in Excel, right? I used to pride myself on being so great at writing formulas. I was like, awesome. I don't have to anymore, right? I just tell Copilot in Excel what I want it to do, and it does it. Last example is Outlook, right? So you all have seen those email chains that go on from now to eternity. You don't want to read all that, so you have Copilot summarize it for you, and you can go down to the individual spots where you might need more clarity. So those are the ones that really examples that stood out to me. Another area, so those are the ones that are inside of M365 apps, are the role-based AI agents. These are pre-built by Microsoft. And there's two major ones right now for you guys. There are many coming. One of which is Researcher. So you can utilize Researcher, ask it a question, you can pick the model, and it will go research where you tell it to. So if you don't want to use your internal data and you just want to see what's out there in the world, it'll go, you can tell it, hey, I want you to find all of the, a good example, the bills, we're coming into legislative session, all the bills that have mentioned my agency, and it will go and bring it back. So those are some really powerful pre-built agents that you can use. Analyst is the other one. That one is more about data. And so, you give it a data set and you tell it to create these data visualizations or ask it questions. Hey, what are the anomalies here? Or what's the trend here? Or, create me a data visualization that expresses the main point of this data, right? It can do all that for you. You obviously will look at it and maybe change it. I argue with AI all the time. I'm like, no, why is that color? Come on now. And so you can do that. It's just like talking to someone. M365 does have access to your graph data. So that's where, Naeem mentioned that you have to be careful about how your data security, your data labeling, your data sensitivities, all those come into play. Now, it does respect the roles that you have in your agency. So if you can't go open that document by yourself, then Copilot's not going to be able to look at it. But it does rely on that base level of data security. And then, the ultimate, why am I doing this? I put out a LinkedIn post and, the topic was chase outcomes, not AI. We don't need to do AI just for fun, right? It's to, and I love that example with the Children International. We don't need them, worrying about writing emails or creating PowerPoints, right? They should be out with the children and making that impact and delivering the mission of the agency. So on the next slide, I'll get into my favorite, I'm a little biased, is Copilot Studio. And the reason I really like the approach of Studio is that you can tell it exactly what data to use. So say you don't have your data state in a place where you can, open it up to M365 Copilot. You can create an agent in Copilot Studio and tell it the source of truth. And so then what it's basing the answers on, where it's getting the data. And so you can very easily build various different agents, like a knowledge agent. One of them is really popular is the HR policy agent, right? That can take you literally 5 minutes to have Copilot look at your HR policy, and you can provide it out to your agency so that they can ask questions about policy. And I use HR just because it's a common example, but there are agencies always have their own kind of business related policy. So if you are new or don't have the experience in a certain topic, you can immediately look at your agent and say, what do I need to do for this Medicaid policy? They're in this situation. What questions do I ask? What policy aligns to this, right? So that helps with your onboarding. That helps with the quality of the information you're delivering. And it helps your employees feel like they're making good impact and know what's going on. I know I like it when I know what's going on. So those kind of knowledge agents are very easy to build and a good POC in my point of view. And they're also low code. So I'm not a developer. I create agents all the time. It's very drag and drop, easy to do with Studio. The other thing is that it can be used across multiple different systems that you already have, right? Obviously, because it's Microsoft, it talks well with Microsoft, right? Very easily to connect those if you want to do something specific in a Teams site. And however, Power Platform has 1,400 connectors. So you can put Copilot Studio in front of Salesforce. You can put Copilot Studio in front of ServiceNow. It can go and look in data sources, knowledge sources, if you need it for something else. It's very flexible and integratable in your business processes. There are also, now low code, a lot of times people think, oh no, it's Access database all over again. My business users are going to create mission critical applications and Access. No, there is centralized governance through the Power Platform administration, and you can tell exactly what Studio agents are being built, how much they're consuming, what they're connected to, if they're orphaned, meaning someone built it and left. All of that is tracked so you can understand what's going on. You can even limit by environment how much credits or how many credits that agent can use. So lots of control here, way better than kind of that Access database example. And then also a lot of times these capabilities are restricted to your IT staff. And there are guardrails and ways and controls where you can allow your agency, your business users, to quickly make significant improvements in their area without having to utilize IT resources that are on, frankly, more complicated things. Next. All right, now this is the third situation. So we talked about, individual employee productivity. We talked about individual agents where they're kind of answering questions and performing tasks. Now you have the agents that are available in your base business applications. So for Dynamics 365, which is customer service is often used in contact centers, there is built-in AI to help the CSR answer questions, get information. Another example is, I'm sure you've had this happen before. You call in and you talk to the IVR and you tell it everything, and then you're transferred to the CSR or customer service rep, and they ask you, okay, what do you need? It's like, no, I just told the IVR everything I need. Well, with AI, it can translate that over to your CSR, so they're not starting from scratch. The next thing is the Power Platform. So I mentioned earlier that your business processes with AI are how you transform and fully automate. Gartner came out with something called hyperautomation a long time ago in IT terms. But when you marry Power Platform and AI, then you get that full business process that's automated. Now you'll want to have a human in the loop at the end to ensure that what it produces is what you want, but it allows you to build those business processes. So I mentioned in the chat the invoice processing. I get that question all the time. Same as travel and expense. I get those all the time. And what you can do is you have a central location where your invoices come in, Power Automate sees it come in, takes it through AI Builder, extracts the data you need, puts the data in Dataverse, then Power Platform can produce the UI to say, hey, I know that this is the workflow for this type and it needs these 3 signatures. And then, oh, by the way, I'm going to put it in a database that can later be moved over to your budget or CAPS or wherever you are. So that's an example of a beautiful combination of AI and automation. Think about every single business process you have. I guarantee you could optimize either all of it or part of it. Next. So this is like the top tier now, right? So your low code M365, Copilot Studio are all based on Azure AI. It's just not, it's low code and easy to use and meant for your business users and people who aren't developers, right? So the Microsoft CEO calls it the democratization of abilities, right? So because it's anybody can create an agent, then that capability is given to everybody. Well, sometimes you get to use cases and projects and needs that are much more advanced, and it's either by the scale that it's addressing, or if you need it to do multi-agent, multi-layered AI, then this is where you would go. And obviously, it's all for just developers and pro code solutions. So a lot of people sometimes will ask, hey, when do I use AI Foundry, which is what this is, versus Copilot Studio or M365? And I'll say it's the complexity and the size that you need of the solution. And that's how you would differentiate between the two. Next. So security, compliance, and responsible AI are not only required by the state, but they're also things that Microsoft has been focused on from the beginning in this AI journey. So there is the platform uses a zero trust model and has continuous threat monitoring. We meet the compliance frameworks of the agencies that are needed. So if you're GCC or you're GCC high or those types of things, we can show and demonstrate that Microsoft's tools are compliant with those frameworks. Back to being able to see what's going on, there are a lot of requirements from security and data management people and people that wanted to ensure compliance, and the governance tools like Purview are watching all of these AI tools as well, right? So they can see what question was asked, they can see what was answered, and tell you exactly what happened in those interactions. So that ability is there and focused on. And then also just the responsible AI principles. So when we're building and working with these models, we don't, Microsoft doesn't want to be involved in anything that's, irresponsible or unethical, right? So there are certain things you can ask an AI agent and they won't answer, right? Because it's just not ethical and not going to be used in a good way. So that's stuff that's already built into the platform. So what's next? That's kind of where we are now. what's coming next is the AI agents and the world of you not being a manager of individual people doing work, you being a manager of agents that are doing work. And again, I get to play with all the cool tools early. I have 3 monitors here, and I have AI running things, agents doing stuff on each monitor. I think I need another monitor because they can just run. You tell it what to do, and it'll do it. And you can be, thinking about something else, working on strategy, that kind of stuff, instead of putting together a PowerPoint. One of my favorite solutions we have now is called Cowork. And in Cowork, I can tell it to, an example would be, what's an example? I need you to go look at all the meetings that are coming up for this week. Tell me which ones don't have an agenda, create the agenda for them. If they don't have a PowerPoint, create one with a background and attach it to the agenda. And it'll do it. And then I just go back and look, and I see, and the PowerPoint's built, and everything's agendas are updated, etc. So it's very, very, very useful. Another one I just found this week. This is how fast things are going. I was impressed by Cowork last week. Now I have Claw Pilot. And in Claw Pilot, you can do pro code type things without knowing what the tools actually do. So an example would be, I have to update my pipeline every week, right? And I have to have new comments, and I have to put a status in, etc. Right? Time consuming, annoying, but necessary. And so what I told Claw Pilot to do is, in my own words, said, hey, I need you to make a connection to this tool, grab the data, pull it down, then go look at all my emails and my chats and my everything, and update each one of those things in my pipeline with the current status of just by it reading my email or my chats. And it starts going, and it's like, oh, okay, I got to use PowerShell. Oh, okay, now I got to use Playwright. I don't know how those tools work, but I ended up with that solution. And I built an agent that runs every week that uses PowerShell and Playwright. So it's just amazing. Again, with the focus on the human in the loop, that's always very important. It doesn't, when I asked it to not publish anything until I review it. So it stops and says, hey, your thing's ready. And then I'll say, okay, go. And then it'll go updated. So always important to keep the human in the loop. There are fully automated things. I'm more of the let me check first. So what's next? More agent. Okay. So again, back to the agent automation. I was describing me having, my little agent minions running around doing things for me. Then there's the next step, which is you have an agent doing that. So it can decide the individual tasks that need to be done. So I would tell the main agent, hey, I need to ensure that this program has been established, and give it this is how it should work, this is how it should look, blah, blah, blah. And then that agent would then go figure out all the individual tasks for the other agents. So that's kind of pretty cool out there. Microsoft also is making investments in AI optimized databases, data platforms. Obviously, these databases and platforms have been around forever, and not built with the idea that AI would ever happen. So we're looking at making sure that infrastructure is optimized for AI. And then we will continue to support government use to make sure that these capabilities are making it through to kind of the next to GCC high. So we'll continue to work those because we don't, again, we want to make sure everybody has access to the tools that they need. And then also along those lines, continue to provide more support so agencies can, say, yes, I know this is okay. I know what it's doing. It is fully compliant. And here's my, report that says it does, right? And here's how I can prove it. So that is probably a nonstop effort. Like I said, that some of that is available now. But as things grow and mature and you get more orchestration, you're going to need that more. With that, I think I am done. Any questions from you guys on my rambling? Comments? Atta girls? All right, I tried. All right.
Thank you, Cassie. So we'll move on to the next one. Like we said earlier, you're not alone on this in this journey, and we are here to help you. We are providing complimentary AI readiness workshop where, like earlier, where I walk you through in terms of a guided session, in terms of with your team, looking at your pain points, looking at your operational inefficiencies where you feel that there needs to be an improvement. We can certainly help you there. The recording for this session will be available to you all. And the other thing also we wanted to mention is that OnActuate would be at a GFOA conference on from June 28th through July 1st in Chicago. And whoever is going to book a meeting with us remotely or in person, we'll be offering Starbucks coffee on us. So you're very welcome to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help you achieve in your AI journey moving forward. And now we'll move on to any Q&A, any questions you may have. Feel free to ask us. We're here to help.
Jeff put something in the chat. What is the agent tool that creates visuals? Can you give me what kind of visuals? Like pictures, images? Okay, well, I'll just give you all of them. So you can create visuals with Copilot Chat, which is the free version that comes along, and you can say, hey, build me an image. I did one for Top of Mind Tuesday, actually, the one that's on the invite, which says, have it say Top of Mind Tuesday, have a government agency, have a school, right? Because we support education as well, and create this for a banner. And it created it. Or in my PowerPoints, data visualization. Okay, yeah. So data visualization it's called Analyst, and it's the tool that is the pre-built Microsoft agent that is available in your M365 Copilot. I'm gonna steal the screen real quick, just because I want you to see it. That's the wrong one. That's all right. Put it over here. Okay. So this is M365 Copilot, and then you have these pre-built agents, and this is where they live. So in here you can visualize, you can get insights, you can analyze the data, and you would just throw in your data set here to see what it's doing. So that's all pre-built. You don't have to do anything or prompt it or any of that stuff.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Any other questions?
Well, thank you, everybody. And you will, this obviously is recorded, and the decks and the recordings are available on the Top of Mind Tuesday site. I'm sure you also hear from OnActuate as a follow-up. So if you want to send me any ideas about future Top of Mind Tuesday topics, happy to do that as well. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.